Inspired Insights. We're live on Instagram, just waiting for things to jigger so we can get live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And this month's topic is something I entitled it "The Thing We Never Talk About." And this is something, honestly, I've been both excited to speak with you guys about this because this is something that is so important. And I think it's something that I know it's something that's affected each and every single one of us. Um, but I'm also, slightly nervous to talk about this because, yeah, it's a very personal subject. So we are going to hop right in. And today we're talking about suicide. And I know that's so jarring to even say it. And it's something that everyone has struggled with. Maybe if they haven't struggled with it, it has affected with them at some point in time. And, I initially, before I even, set this to when I was like deciding that I wanted to talk about this, because this is something that affects a lot of attorneys, I also engaged in conversations with my friends and peers about this. And it's much bigger than that. This is something that not only affects attorneys, it affects everyone, it affects entrepreneurs, veterans, especially. And so I was very humbled in the conversations that I was having with others and just really wanted to have an open mind. And the purpose of this live is really to give a voice to anybody who needs a voice and to give us the strength to talk about this topic, because I think because it's not talked about, we silently suffer, and that's not important. So I'm going to talk about a couple things. I'm going to talk about, my own journey, how this has affected me, and just a couple other things. So firstly, for me personally, I am a very positive person. It's one of my superpowers. I see the potential in situations. When someone tells me that, the world is burning down, I see where the opportunity lies. And it's a power of mine. It kind of is annoying to some when you're dealing with something, and I am the perpetual optimist. I'm like, but can't you see the rainbow? So you think that I'm a person who hasn't had those thoughts. And you would be right up until, the last 10 years of my life. And for me, I have had those moments, those very dark moments where I really thought to myself, like, what's the purpose of continuing on? I felt like the only time, and I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional because these are very deeply personal subjects. Like for me, in those moments, like I can feel them. They were always related to feeling like a failure, feeling like I know that I have so much potential. Or I think in those moments, I'm thinking to myself, man, I think that I have so much to offer the world, but maybe the world doesn't want what I have to offer. And maybe, maybe it's just not meant to be. And coming from a place of, I always felt like I did everything right. I went to school, I double majored, I got an MBA, got a law degree. And I got a law degree and thinking that all this would set me up for the success and to live the life that I desired, and finding myself like in a position of not having my life align and doing everything in my power to make that change. And, sometimes not seeing results and just having those moments, those serious gut punches, and just feeling very alone in those moments and thinking, really, what's the point of carrying on? And what's pulled me out of those moments is really just for me, because these are my own personal experiences and we can never judge anyone because, I'm sure there are people who have been darker moments than that. But for me, really what pulled me out was like, come on, shake it off. Like, you have family that loves you, and, what would it also do to them if something like that happened? And, just try another way. And honestly, like shifting my state, listening to, sometimes in those moments I was listening to sad music so I could feel sad and continue to feel sad, and just honestly switching my state and going for a walk outside and smiling at a stranger or having a stranger smile at me, that's so huge. So that's just, part of my own story, because so often we look at people and we think that they don't know what it's like. And, just someone who's like eternally optimistic and positive like me, that like they can't, there's no way that they can understand what I'm going through, or, this is unique to me. And yes, we all go through suffering. And I'm sure that I have gut punches for me in the horizon. But the thing is that that's life. Life is growth, and nobody comes out unscathed. And so that's just like some of the things that I've gone through personally within my own self, like my own thoughts of suicide. Now, the next story that I will share with you, because I really want you to see that suicide is something that affects every single one of us, no matter who you are and at what point of life you are. And I really want to give you a voice. So as I'm speaking, feel free to share how suicide has affected you. Like if you've had those thoughts, how you've gotten through them. If you've lost someone that's close to you, share their stories, give them a voice, give them a name. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing it in the chat or in the comments section, feel free to send me a message, a private message, and I will repost it anonymously. And if you don't even want me to know who you are, but you want to share, please submit a comment on my website. You can do it through the contact form, and I don't care what email address you give in there. But I think it's really important that we start talking about this, because I found it's been very interesting when I've been having conversations about this topic with others. Everyone has a story to tell, but oftentimes we are afraid to talk about it because it's such a taboo subject. And it shouldn't be taboo, because it affects every single one of us. And you deserve to be here tomorrow, and you deserve to know that people care about you. And so one of my very first, the first ways that it touched my life is that my younger sister, who is my best friend, and I'm sharing this with her permission, because we spoke about this, she struggled with suicide. And one time in particular, she was in a place where she wanted to end it all. And she called me. And I'm so grateful that she called me. And when we were talking about this, because I asked her if I could share her story for today, because I think it's important for us to realize that we all go through this. And when we were talking about this and I asked her if I could share her story, she said, for me, I'm so happy that I didn't do it, because I would have never been able to accomplish all the dreams and all the things that I've wanted to accomplish in my life. And it wouldn't have been able to happen if I did end it in that moment. And for her, in that moment, it was really important that I picked up the phone and then I spoke to her and then I talked her through it. And, having someone, like, it's not a burden. For me, like, it was the best thing in the world. Like, yeah, my sister is on the other line and she's in some serious pain and I'm going through my own stuff. But in that moment, all I know is that I care about this person more than the world itself. And I want her to be okay. And I want her to know that she's not alone and that she's loved. And so if you're in a situation where you're feeling alone, you're feeling lost, there are resources. I've included them in on the Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. There are show notes. There are notes. There's a national suicide hotline. There's also an international suicide hotline. And there are also some local resources that I put on there for Miami-Dade and Broward County, because I am located in South Florida. And I will add these to the comments on Instagram. But please reach out if you're in that dark place, because it is worth it for you to give it a try. And I know that tomorrow may seem very far off, and it's probably the hardest thing in the world when you're in the dark place of despair to reach out to someone. But I can't tell you how grateful I am that my sister didn't do it, because it would have altered the lives of so many people. We wouldn't have been able to see her blossom and see everything that she's created. She is one of my eternal inspirations, and one of the reasons that I am who I am today. And it would have changed the entire, and I know it's so selfish, it would have changed the entire course of my life, but also it would have changed the entire course of all the people's lives that she has the power to affect. And when we silently suffer, we don't give the people we love and the people that care about us the opportunity to be there for us and to show us that they care. So I think it's just really important to share that. One of the other times that it's touched my life and is when and is when I lost a mentor to it. And I think one of the saddest things about suicide, and that people don't talk about it, is that, when someone usually passes on in a natural way, or if their life is taken from them without their own hand, we celebrate their life and we talk about them, and like they're constantly memorialized in another way. But when you take your own life, suddenly, no matter who you are and no matter how great you were, you suddenly are kind of like eked out. It's like you sneak out of this existence. Like people just then, are afraid to talk about you, and they don't want to talk about what happened. And every situation is different, but in my experience with this person, they were just, and out of respect for their family and their situation, I'm not going to talk about go into detail, because there's a reason why. But I just think it's sad, because this person was absolutely incredible and deserved for us to talk about them, and deserve for us to remember them for the amazing person they were. And I remember that I wish, like, I know that, like, when you have like a mentor student kind of relationship, that, like, you feel like, this person I had a very close bond, and it's just someone that I connected with immediately. I had been looking for a mentor, and this person, like, we came together and we just related on so many ways, and they made me feel like I could do anything in this world. And I remember I even like went through the text messages yesterday in preparation of this. I reached out to them on their birthday, and they told me, I'm going through some very tough personal stuff. Please keep me in your prayers. And in that moment, like, my response, like, and I know we can't go back, and we shouldn't regret, but like, knowing what I know now, I would have completely responded in a different way. I would have, instead of just saying, I'm sending you prayers and I'm sending you good vibes, which is what I did, I would have called them and said, is there anything that I can do? Because in that moment, I think that they were sending out, there was like a small cry for hope. And I don't know that I could have changed what happened. I don't believe myself to be, whatever, but I think every little bit helps when you're in a situation where you feel deep despair. And the reason why I didn't do that, I mean, who knows? Like, I was, wrapped up in my own life also, but I also wanted to respect that person's boundaries. But, I know that I was also close enough to that person that I would have been able to call them and that it would have been okay. And, we just really got to remember the human factor of everyone, that we're all people and we go through shit, and life gets dark for all of us sometimes. And like I said, you don't come out of this life unscathed. Like, the point of life is growth. And unfortunately, a lot of growth is painful. And, like, yes, I'm a very cheery person and I always see the positive in life, but like, yeah, things effing suck sometimes. And it really blows going through those lows. And I think it's really important for us to start being more compassionate and more loving one another, and to start talking about these things a lot more. And what I would request of you, and I appreciate that everyone has been on here, if you've watched until this point, please use this post, repost this post, send me a message with how suicide has affected you, who you've lost, how they, if you haven't lost someone, if you had an instance where you yourself struggled with suicide or someone close to you struggled with suicide, how did they get through it? Like my sister said, reaching out to someone and having someone there for her. Use this post to say their names, share their stories, because I want this post and this live to help give you hope, to give a voice to people who are suffering in silence. And if you are suffering in silence, know that you're not alone and you deserve to live until tomorrow. You know, I posted on the Monday Motivator on Monday someone who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and he actually survived. And he said that the moment his hands left the railing, he felt instant regret. And I just think that, and what he also shared in his story is that on his way to take his own life, he was crying in the bus and almost asking for help and felt like nobody cared about him. And you never know how a hello, how a simple smile, how checking on someone who even maybe someone has just been to a point where they have been on a downward spiral and it's just been kind of toxic for you, where you can even just somehow offer them help. I mean, we also have to protect ourselves to a certain extent, but we also have to remember the human factor, and anything that we can do to support one another and give someone a voice who's struggling, I really think and I implore you to do. So if my post doesn't do anything other than give you the hope that you need, then give a voice to people who are suffering in silence, and to let you know that you deserve to live until tomorrow, to let you know that you are worthy, that no matter what, that it is okay to suffer, but you can get through it. It'll just make you stronger. When I look back at like all the things that have happened in my life, it sucks to say this, but I'm happy that they happened because they gave me the opportunity to speak to you. I mean, I would trade a lot to be able to have my mentor here with me and all the people who, have been lost. But I think that when we have the ability to spread love and be able to give a voice to people who feel silenced, like this is something that's extremely important. So I don't want to go on any longer, but just know that you're alone. Please share your stories, because it'll make a difference even if you don't think it'll make a difference. And I really appreciate everyone's courage in how you react with this post. And if you don't even say anything, but it does something here, I'm sending you lots of love and light, and you can make it through. And if there's anything that I can do, please do let me know. I mean, I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that, but I'm also a human being who has gone through things just like anybody else, and nobody's story is the same. Unfortunately, some of us go through things that are just unimaginable. And it's really sad to think that people have to go through these things, but we don't have to go through these things alone. So this is all that I'm saying. We're going to wrap this here. I'm sending you guys so much love and light. Be strong, be brave, reach out for help, share your stories, say the names of those you've lost. Let's give courage and let's give a voice to those who are suffering in silence. Be well, everybody.